Rhythm games have been a popular trend in Japan in the last 20 years. Many arcades are populated by big machines pumping music out into the arcade, with their players stomping their feet or smacking their hands against colorful buttons in time with the beat. The trend of rhythm gaming safely made it to home consoles as well. In 2005, a handheld game by the name of Tatakae Ouendan was released on the Nintendo DS. A Japanese exclusive game developed by Ines and published by Nintendo, it's a rhythm game for the DS that makes heavy use of the touchscreen and consists of various Japanese pop songs. Ouendan follows the group with the same name, the Ouendan, an all-male cheer squad. They appear near people as needed to help cheer them on through a rough situation. You'll see them in situations like helping a high school student study for his entrance exams, or helping an aspiring ramen chef get his business out of the gutter, all while following along tapping notes and spinning to the beat. According to Keiichi Yano, the vice president of Ines, an inspiration for the game came when he first used the DS, and the concept was soon pitched to Nintendo. The gameplay is fairly simple. Each note consists of two parts overlaid onto the bottom screen with a main inner circle and an outer ring. When the outer ring meets the inner circle's edges, the player must tap the note, with the timing of this synced up to the song that's playing. There are also slider notes where, after the initial tap, you're required to follow the path of the slider by keeping the DS stylus on the ball that's rolling through the slider note. The slider has small dots on it to indicate where the beat is synced up to, and if you're not touching the ball when it crosses one of these ticks, so to speak, you'll break your combo. Finally, there's a spinner object, often used at a large build-up or finale of a song, where the player is required to spin as fast as they can to fill the meter on the sides before the spinner object ends. The game combines these things in interesting ways to create dynamic charts involving tap notes, sliders, and spinners. Tying into the theme of the game is the health bar. The health bar is divided into an upper and lower section, which the meter will stay in depending on how well you're performing the song. The health bar also slowly decays over time, requiring consistent good performance from the player to maintain a high health bar. When a section finishes and the game goes to play a cutscene relating to the scenario for the song, the cutscene varies depending on the state of the health bar. The character might succeed their task if your health bar is over halfway, and fail it if the health bar is less than halfway. The number of passed and failed sections also affects the ending of the story that's shown at the end of the song, with all passed sections giving the best ending, and failing sections making the ending worse, even though you've passed the song either way. It's a funny and inspired game, with tons of wacky scenarios and even some more emotional songs, making it a ton of fun to play through and experience, even if you don't know the Japanese songs. The game was received pretty well, and actually became a very popular import title outside of Japan due to the Nintendo DS not having region locking. It became something of a cult classic on the Nintendo DS, being well received despite being relatively unknown. Nintendo and Ines took note of this, and a sequel went into development. In 2006 in North America and 2007 in Europe, Elite Beat Agents was released, being a westernized sequel to the Japanese game, maintaining all the gameplay elements of the original, despite not being directly associated with the Ouendan series. Instead of following a team of dancers looking to inspire people, the characters were changed to that of government-esque agents that will directly intervene to solve someone's problem when they call for help. The game also added local wireless multiplayer, which was not present in the original version, in the form of competitive and cooperative multiplayer. Development on the game was started due to the previously mentioned high import rate of the original game. At first, the idea of localizing and porting the existing game was floated. Yano explained in an interview that selling the game in a Western market wasn't feasible due to massive cultural differences. Ouendan relies very heavily on both Japanese culture and popular Japanese music, so it is unlikely that it would have succeeded in a Western market. This is also the reason the cheerleaders of the original game were replaced by agents. Hilariously, this actually happened in reverse when it came to Elite Beat Agents later on. Elite Beat Agents was never released in Japan, even though it had originated from a Japanese series, likely due to the same reasons Ouendan was never localized outside of Japan. Elite Beat Agents was very well received by media outlets, receiving many scores of 8s and 9s, and receiving several awards in relation to soundtrack, gameplay, and story. Even Nintendo Power praised the game highly as one of the best Nintendo DS games ever released. The game's success even made its way up the chain at Nintendo of America. Then-President Reggie Fils-Aimé stated that he expected to see the game sell better than its 180,000 copies that it moved by the end, expecting as high as 300,000 copies to be sold, and he had hoped that Ines would work with Nintendo on a sequel and to potentially have this become a new franchise. He seemed to really believe in the game's potential in the Western market. Meanwhile, back over in Japan, a sequel was being developed, but not for Elite Beat Agents. In 2007, Moero Neketsu Rhythm Damashi Osu Tatakae Ouendan II was released, once again only in Japan. Ouendan II basically retained all the gameplay of Elite Beat Agents along with any improvements made, but with new songs and a slightly new overarching story, featuring a rival group of Ouendan the main characters are pitted against. After Ouendan II was released, the series was looking strong. A positive reception in the US, 2 Japanese games, and recognition from high up at NOA surely positioned the game to continue on its path, becoming a franchise and pushing forward. But instead, it went dormant. Throughout the years, a few hints about sequels existing have popped up here and there. A report from Liam Robertson on the YouTube channel Did You Know Gaming reports that there was a third Ouendan game pitched to Nintendo, but Nintendo chose not to publish it. Obviously, we had heard rumblings that some higher-ups at Nintendo would have liked to see a sequel/series for Elite Beat Agents made, but none ever came to be. Later on down the line in 2016, Ieno stated that he had interest in creating a sequel to Elite Beat Agents on a Nintendo platform, but that it depends on whether the game is suited for it. This was obviously before the Switch came out in 2017, but it has now been 4 years since this statement, and it remains to be seen if a sequel to EBA is even in development, let alone near release. The one plus is that the Switch does have a touchscreen, so if they wanted to pursue a sequel with the same or similar gameplay, they could do that even if the gameplay would feel slightly different on a touchscreen with your finger versus a stylus. It seems like the series sort of just slipped through the cracks one way or another. Positive reception and hints of sequels popping up throughout the years, but another game never managing to materialize. While the existing sequels were hardly innovating in terms of gameplay from the first game, I would say that the series still has a lot of potential in its comedic theming and official song lists that it could have warranted at least 1 or 2 more games. The game has an addictive gameplay loop and a hilarious concept, and it's a shame that there was only 1 release in the US and 2 in Japan. Hopefully in the future we can see a sequel finally make it out. And now we have to talk about Osu. I have been specifically referring to the DS games as Ouendan rather than Osu because the freeware rhythm game Osu has completely adopted that name. Osu is basically a free rhythm game that aims to recreate the gameplay of Ouendan on PC, as well as a few other rhythm games like Taiko, for example. If you've played Osu, you've played Ouendan. Osu has become so popular these days that I guarantee there are many players of the game who have no idea of the original DS source material. Osu's popularity has entirely eclipsed the original series, with tens of thousands of active players, content creators, and chart makers pumping content into and out of the game. If you're looking for a way to experience Ouendan with any modern level of polish, I can wholeheartedly recommend Osu. It was where I went after completing Elite Beat Agents as a kid. In my opinion, Osu loses a little of the flair Ouendan has in terms of gameplay, such as no varying endings based on section passes, or really any semblance of story and game theming in general, as there aren't any dancing characters or NPCs to cheer on. But the gameplay is there, and it's as fun and polished as it's ever been. The modern charting style in Osu doesn't really reflect what the DS game songs are charted like, but the fun is there nonetheless, and there's a difficulty for everyone. Pretty much anyone can jump in and have a lot of fun. While I'd certainly like to see another Ouendan game, I have no doubt that Osu's existence has made it across Ines' desk. Whether they think Osu will eat into Ouendan's market, or that a new pitch just hasn't made it anywhere, the spirit of the Ouendan series lives on in Osu for now. Maybe someday in the future we'll see another release, but for now, the Osu Tatakae Ouendan series lies in rest as a dead rhythm game. Thanks for watching. Check out my Twitter and my Twitch, links are in the description below. I've started up a stream schedule again recently, mostly playing retro games and Kaizo Mario, so if you're interested, feel free to stop by and chat. You can also check out my Patreon if you want to support my content. I've also linked my community Discord below if you want to chat about my videos or give me suggestions for what to talk about. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.